You're watching Through the Looking Glass with Dr. Jenny Klein.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jenny Klein, and I've missed you, so I'm back with a new show for us all. It's about our feelings, fears, and fantasies, our pain and our pleasure, our problems and our solutions. It's a time for us to get together, talk things over, think things over, and find out that we are not alone. Perhaps then we could all help each other and this world to be good to ourselves and good to others. Did you ever say to yourself, I'm going to clean up all this clutter, and I'm really going to do it, and then just sit down and do absolutely nothing? I know I have. Let's take a closer look at just that issue. So, Paul, what's up?
I'm telling you, I'm stressed out.
What's stressing you out, you know?
There's a lot of things stressing me. Work's stressing me out. The wife is stressing me out. The kids are stressing me out.
With expectations of you?
Do you think? Yeah.
Well,
How do you know it was expectations?
Well, if someone is stressing you out from the outside, they're expecting something that you think you should perform, and you can't do it, and then you're stressed because you're failing.
Yeah. In that sense, yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just sick and tired of people telling me that I don't finish things. That I don't get things done. Pick up after yourself. You know.
Who said that when you're a kid?
My kid, not only as a kid, my wife says it all the time. She says, you know, and I swear to you, Dr. Klein.
Okay.
I tell her I'm going to get it done, but I don't know why. I seriously don't know why I don't get it done. You know,
You're going to get what done?
Pick up after myself.
All of it?
Yeah, all of it.
Oh, and so what do you do?
I just sit back, watch TV, or do something else.
And do absolutely nothing?
Yeah.
Well, I can appreciate that. I really can, because I have a little bit of that myself. And I think the problem is with the word all.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes in our mind we have this imaginary hero zero game that if I'm not 100%, I'm nothing. And if I don't do it all, it's still not done. So I wind up saying, I can't do 99% because I'll hate myself for the 1% I didn't do, because it's not all. So then I don't do anything.
Yeah, but I've done this all my life. I'm sick and tired of doing it. I'll start it, and I tell you, I have good intentions.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. I just don't get it done.
Do you expect yourself to get it all done when you go into starting it?
Yeah, well, that's what I say I'm going to do.
And what if it's only 98%? Are you a failure?
Well, it's not done.
No, excuse me. What's it? Is it all of
The
it?
job.
All of it.
All of it.
When you want 100% and you don't pick up one thing, you don't give yourself any credit because it's not 100%?
Well, I give myself credit, but everybody else doesn't want to give me credit. I have the attitude it's good enough, but good enough to these people is like all of it.
Is your wife OCD or obsessive compulsive?
No, she's nuts.
What do you mean she's nuts?
She's nuts. She always wants this picked up, that picked up. I said, why don't you leave it there for tomorrow? It'll get done. And guess what?
Then,
It doesn't get done.
why are you laughing? Who's not doing it?
I'm not doing it, but I mean...
You're not doing all of it.
Yeah, but I tell her I'm going to do it.
What's it? 100%? Or you're zero?
What?
Where'd you learn that?
Well, you know what's funny? I was driving over here, and
Yeah.
I can remember when I was a kid getting my room cleaned up.
100%?
No, my mom would come in there. I did it, okay? But it was never good enough.
So she gave you the feeling if it wasn't 100% you failed and you're bad.
She would scream and yell. But you know what was funny, though?
What?
She would clean the room while she was screaming and yelling. So I just sort of watched.
Who was she screaming and yelling at then? Who was she coercing to clean the room? Herself?
Yeah.
Where'd she get it from?
I have no clue.
Her
Probably
mother?
my grandmother. She was nuts, too.
So you learned through 3 generations that if you don't do it 100%, you're a failure, and you're not even going to try because you're going to fail, because if it isn't 100%, you're a 0.
She called me a pig, not a 0.
Okay, she called you a pig. Hero, 0, pig, it doesn't matter. If you're not perfectly neat, and if there's one thing left, then you're bad.
Yeah.
Well, if you know, you have 2 choices.
What
To
are they?
buy that kind of definition of being okay, or not to buy it. You've been buying it since you're a boy.
I've been hearing it since I've been a boy.
I know, and you either agree with it or you don't. Now, when you're here and you're not a boy, but you're an adult, we're going to talk about, I'm not a failure if I'm not 100%. I don't care what my mother said, because her mother told her, and she told you. She passed it on. It's hero, 0 game. So why even try?
Thank you. That's what I said. I said, I don't even want to do it because let's put it, it's never going to be good enough anyway.
That's right. And you bought into that because your mother was screaming at you.
Yeah, but you'd think I'd give it up.
Why? Do you want to be able to say it's okay to do a portion of this and then watch TV? Or would that make you a rat and a failure?
But I'm still not good enough because they don't
But-
stop. That voice inside my head doesn't stop.
Oh, so I could stop mother screaming if I did 100%, but if I do anything less, then I'm a failure. Let me tell you a story. This is a real story. We were at a scientific conference, and the person who's checking us up, my husband's conference, she asked you, well, you're a therapist, what do you do? So I said, look, I help people understand if something they imagine, which is unlimited, is 100%, and they do anything less than that, they hate themselves. That 100%er hates them. Can you get that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I bet you can. And so this guy, who was from Norway, taps me on the shoulder and said, hi. This was in New Hampshire. I said, hi, John, how are you? He said, well, something you said, I have something to ask you. And I said, what's that? He said, I've been in the mental hospital 4 times. I said, I didn't know that, John. So he said exactly this to me. He said, what happened? He said, well, I wrote a 365-page scientific textbook, and when I got the proofs back, I went over it. I'm very careful, you know. So I'm thinking, here's my hero, 0 thing coming. And he said to me, and I said, yeah. And I went over it. I found I left out a comma. Well, that even surprised me. And I went, 1 comma? He said, yeah. He said, I know it sounds ridiculous because he has a logical brain, and then he has this imaginary brain, this hero, 0 thing. And I said, 1 comma? He says, yes, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it wouldn't, you know, I got so upset that my wife found me like that, put me in the car, took me to the plane, flew me down to Oslo. My brother's a psychiatrist, and I spent 4 weeks in a room with 2 men watching me and pads on the walls. But I know it was his comma. Could you explain it? I said, I can, but you're never going to believe me. So I explained to him what I just explained to you, which you know from your mother's 100%. So I figured I got to take this guy home. So I went out and told my husband. I said, Andy, we're taking John home. So I asked him, do you have time after this? He says, I have a week. Where'd you fly into? Newark. So I took him home with me, and I worked with him for a week. I worked with him for a week to explain this. He's a very bright man, but his brother didn't study that medical school. I don't know what he studied because I didn't study that. This guy didn't sit to study this, so he couldn't help his brother. Anyway, he got pancreatic cancer. And a few years later, and I spent a week with him, and so I explained it to him. And he was working on a molecule to cure the pancreatic cancer, and then he died. But he told his friends in Switzerland, which I heard, because I heard them talking, that he didn't finish the molecule, but he's still very proud of what he did. And I started to cry. So at the end of his life, he understood it's not a hero, 0 game, you know? And that's why I'm telling you that story, because you're not the only person with an imagination, which has no limits, of course, and says, if I don't do 100%, I'll be a zero. And I don't want to buy into that, so I won't do anything, because anything less than 100 makes me a failure in my mother's eyes, and I think this is crazy, and it is.
See?
But doing absolutely nothing is one of the reasons you came here, because then you're not doing anything. Because in your imagination, it's 100% or nothing. That's not true. You can take this much every day, take you 20 minutes, and you have to say, this is fine. I've done something. It's not a hero zero game. That's not a game I can never win. And your mother and her mother before her have been passing this crap on. So you're winding up not doing 100%, but not doing anything. And then that's one of the reasons you're here.
Yeah, but I need a partner. She has to understand this. She doesn't understand this. She just goes off.
Look, you have to understand it, because you're the one who's doing either 100% or zero. You've adopted this thing, and you're a failure in your mother's eyes and in your wife's eyes unless you do 100%, and you have to give that up.
But
You
I
get
just
it?
keep hearing it. I understand what you're saying.
Good.
Truly understand what you're saying.
Good.
And that was an extreme example with the guy with the
That's
comma.
exactly what happened.
And
That's
I don't want
true.
to be a comma guy, that's for sure. But but the thing is, sometimes I try. I do, but
It's never good enough for someone else.
right.
And you've lived with that all your life from your mother, and then you live with it with your wife.
Yeah.
You married
Why
the
don't
same.
they let it go?
They don't know what we just discussed.
Yeah, I should bring those two here.
Not a bad idea. We'll have a group. Okay, so that if you say, I'm not a failure if I don't do 100%, and then I'm worried because I haven't done anything and I feel like a guilty dog. Right, okay. Well, stop hating yourself and say, this 100% is crap. And that's what, I know all about that. Believe me, I have cluttered and stuff, and I've finally figured out, even in this profession, that I don't have to do it all. I do a little at a time, and that's a success. But if I do nothing, I know exactly where you are. I've done it.
Yeah, I need to chip away, but you can't even say that to them.
No, it's not their approval you need. It's yours.
I hear you, but I don't hear you.
You hear me, but you can't afford to believe that you're okay if you're not 100% and doing the job 100%. Well, you have to argue with that guy, and when he says, I'm bad, so I can't do anything. Now I hate myself for not doing anything. You have to say, shut the heck up. You have to argue with yourself, not with your wife.
And it's true. It's that voice inside my head.
What is that voice
She
say?
just triggers it. Say, now get it done. Now just go do it.
She?
Yeah.
It's the memory of who? Your mother?
Mom.
Okay, so you're a little kid, you think mom is God, and whatever mom says is 100%, and if you're not, you're bad. Okay, great. And then, of course, you can never do 100% because she's instead of screaming at herself for not being a hero, she screams at her kid, which is a lot easier for her because she don't have to feel herself hate. But you have to say, now you're doing it to yourself the same way your mother was.
Yeah, but I'm involved in more craziness because I married someone who was just like...
And they pick up everything.
Y'all, everything.
And if they don't, they find someone who didn't pick up something and they yell at them instead of yelling at themselves. You're it.
Yeah, and the kids, they're doing the
And
same.
if you believe it, that's something you can do something about. You can say, I'm not buying into the hero zero game. Their game or my game?
But I do it so quickly. I don't even think about it.
I know.
You see what I'm saying?
I know.
I don't even... I know what you're saying. I hear
Well,
what
it
you're
comes
saying.
from the unconscious. You're not consciously thinking of it. I'm trying to make this conscious. So you can say, I'm going to take these many things, and it's okay if I didn't do it all. This is going to be a very difficult thing for you to do.
Oh, I can tell you, this is a
Because you're
struggle.
either perfectly 0 or perfectly 100%. There's no perfect in life. That's
Not
just a
according to my
magic.
mom.
Well, you'll have to think for yourself because you've come here because you say, I plan to do it all.
Yeah.
That was in your words.
Right.
And now I do absolutely nothing.
That's correct.
Because if I don't do it all, I'm a failure. So if I don't do anything, then how can I fail? Then you're dumping yourself because you didn't do anything. Anyway,
It's crazy. That's what I'm trying to say to you. That's why I'm here. I'm crazy.
you're not crazy. You just have something many people have and never discover. Your mother didn't discover it in herself, and your wife hasn't discovered it in herself. Maybe you'll be the pioneer.
It's
And
got to
then-
stop. It seriously has to stop. It's not getting better. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, do you think that you could say to yourself, I don't have to be 100%?
I can say it.
You have to try to believe it.
That's different.
Well, have you ever broken a belief before in your life that you believe that if you didn't answer the teacher right or take your friend bowling or pay for his malted, that you're bad and he'll never love you? Did you ever give up trying to?
Well, I remember not believing that I couldn't make a team, and I finally did make a team.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was, I wasn't a great athlete. I was an okay athlete, but I was.
What's wrong with being an okay athlete? It's not 100%.
I didn't even want to be on a team if I wasn't going to be noticed.
But you're part of the team, and you don't have to be 100% to be noticed. You're part of a team. You pass the ball, you catch the ball. It's
I
a
want to be
team.
a bench warmer. I want to be the star.
You want to be 100%. You learn from your mother well.
Yeah.
So you know what? That's why we have a team, because we can't carry the ball all by ourselves. You only need one man against one man, and that's not a game.
Good point. Never looked at it that way. But then, see, they need to be part of a team here to help me with this issue.
Who's they?
When Mom comes over, my
No, no,
wife.
no, 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 no. You have to take control of what you have control over, and that's the you talking to you.
Whether they do help me or not, I got to do it.
You're not going to change them. Forget it. Everyone has to change themselves. But
See,
you
I was
know
hoping
what?
you were going to tell me how to change them.
Honey, I can't even change you, but you can. I'm not arrogant to think that my telling you this is changing you. It's you who has to, okay, I'm sitting in this watching TV again, I'm not doing anything, because there's my 100% arm is nothing. So if I can't be 100%, then I'm a failure anyway. He says, you're not a failure if you do some things. You've done some things. That's how, ever see people building a house brick by brick?
Yeah.
Do they go home and say, I was there for a whole day, the house isn't done yet, and I hate myself? No.
It takes time.
No kidding. You can't change anyone else either.
I know, but I want to.
I know, because they just trigger the 100% you've heard all your life from your mother. You're 100% or you're nothing. The hero zero game. Write a little sign for yourself, you know, 100% zero. It's not a good rule.
And actually, I think that's a good idea. At least I could see it, because I'll be honest with you, I just go right into it.
Yeah, it's automatic, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, if you left one thing out, you get screamed at as much as if you left 10 things out.
Yeah, because I said to her, I can't win with you. It's never good enough. So why even do it?
It is good enough to do some things. And then, but the hero zero rule says something is never good enough. You learn that from your mother, then you married a woman just like it.
It's amazing. I always said I was going to marry the opposite, and what did I do? I swear she was
Well, it's
different at the
easier
beginning.
to have.
I swear to you.
Huh?
I swear to you, she was different at the beginning.
Well, sure. But it's easier to have someone else putting you down than you're hating yourself because you didn't do it all.
I never thought about it that way.
So they say they are punishing me. I said, no, you are punishing you. And they are too. They're passing on their 100% to you.
It's almost like I reinforce it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost a game. It sounds crazy, but it's almost a game.
Yeah, it's a game you want to play with yourself, not with other people, because you will not change them. But you can change your mind about 100% or you're nothing. That's something put in your head by your mama.
Yeah. You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
say some
I
is,
say it to myself, but
I'll do some, and that's fine.
fine is good enough.
Yes. And then you're declaring who's good enough, not your mother or your wife.
Good. Didn't think about it that way. See, what I hear you saying, if I put it in perspective, which I haven't been doing, from what I'm sharing, I don't need to do it all. I mean,
That's right.
although there's part of me telling me I need to do it all. There's
That's the perfect self that would shut your mother's mouth and stop putting you down. And that's if I were perfect when you're a little kid, and if I were perfect, my wife wouldn't be criticizing me either. So that's that imaginary self that would stop other people from being who they are.
Wow.
Because they don't understand this. Maybe.
I mean, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying,
yeah, I know.
and I understand it, but I'm thinking, dang.
It's hard to do because you're resting on the possibility that I'd one day be good enough for my mom, when all she's doing is projecting her self-hate for not being all to you.
Yeah, we're all playing. It's a dance.
It's a dance, but people don't know the dance they're dancing. They don't know the
Seriously.
steps.
Seriously.
And the first step is saying, the heck with 100%. Let me do something and be proud of myself for doing something, because now I'm just hating myself for doing nothing.
Yeah, I can't even give myself credit for doing little things. Sounds crazy.
It ain't all.
Yeah.
And if it ain't all,
You get no credit, zero.
what are you?
Zero.
Well, you're the one who can give you the credit. Your mother can't give you credit, and your wife can't give you credit. They can't even give themselves credit.
So it starts with me.
This is what you have power over, your mind, not theirs.
This time.
It's
Wish
tough.
I would have known this years ago.
Well, you know it now. Good for you.
I'm gonna work on it.
It's hard because sometimes it'll take over, and then you say, I should have done this 100%, and I'm not doing it 100%. What am I going to tell Klein? I said, wait a minute.
Yes. I think I'm gonna get it and forget it.
You will get it and forget it, I promise you, and then you'll get it again. There is no 100% even in fixing your own head.
You mean I'm even? It's like you showed me how to do a math problem. I could do it when I'm there with you. I'm going to go home. I may be able to do it. I may not be able to do it.
Right, but sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, which is not 100%.
Yeah.
And the more times you do it, the better you do it.
Yeah.
But forget the 100%, because you beat yourself up for one comma.
That was deep. No, I'm not going to comma. I don't want to go down that path.
And that every word of what I told you is exactly how it happened. But I knew something before.
And that's why you see it in me, sort of.
Well, I knew it. I knew it from, I learned it when I was 22, when I went to see a counselor. I had 2 kids. I learned it from him because he followed a gal named Karen Horney, who was Freud's student. And she wrote about this imaginary.
So this is not new. Not new.
No, but just it's not known.
I don't. You know what? I'm even afraid to go home and even share this.
Oh, forget it. I mean, you can share it, but you have no power over their reaction, because they're clean to the 100% or they're nothing.
Yeah.
Just like you are.
Yeah. It's like I'm thinking it's not worth the argument. Just.
You say, you paid her money to learn this, but I'm trying to be 100%?
Yeah. She's.
What kind of a kook is that?
Yeah, but she's trying to change me.
Yeah.
She sent me here.
She wants you to be 100%. She thought, I'm going to go pump that up.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't understand herself either. You take care of yourself here. And it's not because you expressed it very well on the phone. You said, well, I plan to do it all, but then I sit and do absolutely nothing. Well, it's absolute, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an absolute zero.
Yeah.
Rather than an absolute hero.
Yeah.
And it's got its roots from childhood, you know.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that. I never.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to think about other stuff in my life, and wow.
And that 100% zero rule probably affects you in other places too.
Thinking it's just not one area.
Right.
It's other areas too. I mean, not only at home, at work.
Really?
With different people. You know, it's like they say certain things, magic words. You know, it's ever when someone says something, either like your mom said or somebody, there's a trigger. That happens after
Yes.
something. Yeah.
It triggers something and there's no time in your mind. It'll bring up anxiety and failure and self-hate and all this.
I'm thinking, why am I anxious?
Yeah, well, that's somebody up there that's imaginary, infinite, looking down at you and kicking you in the head.
So I'm getting kicked.
You're kicking yourself.
Yeah,
So-
but I keep saying they kick.
So what do I say when I'm kicking myself is a question I also get. You say, shut the heck up. Or sometimes I use stronger language.
I can just say stop.
Stop it. I'm okay the way I am. It doesn't have to be 100%.
Yeah. Wow. It's really
Yeah.
good. Really well.
Okay, so we'll see you next week,
Hey,
okay?
trust me, I'll be here.
Okay, great. It's wonderful talking to you, and you take care.
Thank
Good luck with it, and don't make it 100%. You won't get it 100%. It's okay. I've been there, done that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Okay, now, Eddie Nieves is your real name, and you're a therapist, right?
No, I'm the chair of the Department of Academic Enrichment at Kutztown University.
That's right. And what's the department?
Academic Enrichment.
Academic enrichment. But you have used your skills
Yes.
in therapeutic ways. You just don't call yourself a therapist.
Correct.
Right. I'm glad. I hope you teach that.
I do.
Oh, God bless you. That's wonderful. More people will know about it. And thank you so much for doing the show and helping us to understand ourselves and be good to those around us too, if we do that. Okay, thank you very much, Eddie, for
Thank
doing
you
the
for
show. It
inviting
was a
me.
great role. Thank you very much. And thanks for passing it on in Kutztown. Okay. I want to thank you very much for watching and saying hello, and I see you around town, and you can write and take a look at the show. It's on YouTube as well. And if you have an idea for a show or a common problem, please just go to my website, drjenniklein.com, and or write to the show or write to me. And give me a call, 908-722-2933 is in the credits. And I'll be very happy to hear from you. And in the meantime, be really good to yourself and just keep looking through the looking glass. Bye-bye.
Dr. Jenny Klein would love to hear from you. Email her, jennyklein@gmail.com, or give her a call at 908-722-2933. If you'd like to see more, feel free, just go to drjennyklein.com.